COVID got 70% of the restaurants in LA at one point.
Wow.
Not COVID, I should say. Policies.
Well,
Lockdowns.
the mind virus. I mean, it's like just crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's why I moved here. One of the reasons why I moved here is we came here in May of 2020, and you could go indoors and eat in restaurants. And my kids, who were pretty young at the time, 10 and 12, they were like, we want to live here. So it's like they're freaked out. Like, LA was weird.
Yeah, I mean, for most of COVID, I was actually in South Texas building this Starship factory. And, we're just, no mask, no nothing, just building a factory, building rockets. And then, they would have teams from California visit all masked up, and they'd freak out that we don't have masks, and we're like, we're still alive, man. Yeah. So,
did you lose anybody? Did anybody from your factory die of COVID?
Not that I'm aware of, no. So part of it is that, like, that I kind of saw a dress rehearsal, which is that, I kind of started in Wuhan, and so Tesla's got 20,000 employees in China, and so the first wave happened in China, and we had nobody died or got seriously ill. I was like, okay, well, like, this is, can't be that bad. And we're not relying on government statistics. We literally know who showed up for work.
Right?
Did they badge in or not? And we had no one die and no one got seriously ill. So I'm like, well, I don't know what the big deal is.
Well, there's a problem that people still want to stick to this initial narrative that they believed and that they espoused. They repeated it. And so they'll still fight you on this today. People still fight you today on the merits of the lockdowns, the importance of vaccine mandates, closing schools. There's people that stated an opinion in 2020, and they still are doing mental gymnastics to try to make it seem like that was the right choice.
No, it was just a panic.
Yeah.
And a lot of deaths got ascribed to COVID that had nothing to do with COVID. And in fact, I'd say in the beginning, the cure is worse than the disease. So, because people panic too much. And so that somebody would get diagnosed with COVID, they put them on intubated ventilator for a week, and this was going to basically cook your lungs. So if you're on pure O2 under pressure with a tube stuck down your throat and under anesthetic, this is very bad for you. Like, it's one thing if you do that for a couple hours for an operation, but you do that for a week, it's gonna roast your lungs. Like, the air that we're breathing right now is 78% nitrogen, 1% argon, about 21% oxygen, and some miscellaneous. So if you ask most people, what are you breathing? They say oxygen. No, you're breathing nitrogen. Only about a fifth of it is oxygen, and there's about 1% argon. Now I know quite a lot about life support systems because we make spaceships, and you have to keep people alive in a vacuum. So you got to say, okay, what percentage nitrogen, what percentage oxygen you can do? What's the pressure going to be? So like sea level pressure is about 15 pounds per square inch, and the partial pressure of oxygen at 20% is therefore roughly 3 pounds per square inch of oxygen. So in a spacecraft, you want to, and especially if you're in a space suit, you want to lower the pressure. So you want to keep the oxygen, still give people enough oxygen to function, obviously, but you want to lower the nitrogen content so that you don't have a spacesuit that's at 15 psi, because at 15 psi you just pop out like a balloon. It's like hard to move. So you want to try to lower the pressure, down to around 6, 7 psi, maybe even 5 psi. So you'd lower it to try to keep the oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen roughly the same, so maybe around 3 psi, and then 3 psi of nitrogen. So you got 50-50 mix of nitrogen and oxygen, and then it's getting pretty hot into that week.
Yeah, I tapped out. I made it a while.
I just felt getting hot too.
I'm sweating.
I mean, it's going to be sweaty and itchy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I can't believe people wear them all day.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so I know a thing or two about keeping people alive in a vacuum,
Right.
So, we designed the life support system for keeping humans alive in the vacuum of space, which is very difficult. So we know quite a lot about what it takes to keep people alive. So you do not want to feed people, 100% oxygen. This actually, for an extended period of time, this is not good for you.
Well, 80% of the people they put on ventilators died.
Yeah. So, in fact, I actually posted about that because I called doctors in Wuhan and said, what are the biggest mistakes that you made on the first wave? This was early on. And they said, we put far too many people on intubated ventilators. So then I actually posted on Twitter at the time and said, hey, what I'm hearing from Wuhan is that they made a big mistake in putting people on intubated ventilators for an extended period. And that this is actually what is damaging the lungs, not COVID. It's the treatment. The cure is worse than the disease. And people yelled at me and said, I'm not a doctor. I'm like, yeah, but I do make spaceships with life support systems. What do you do?
I like that.
I twiddle knobs. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Well, again, there was this very bizarre narrative that you had to believe everything that the government was telling you. You had to believe everything the CDC was telling you. And that even as time went on and we realized, hey, it looks like this came from a fucking lab. Like, even as time went on, disputing that would get you banned. It would get you kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah.
I think to this day, there's certain things you're not allowed to say in regards to the vaccine on YouTube.
As I said, the only media that is not does not have crazy censorship at this point is X.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of. Everyone else everything else is censored.
Spotify isn't. That's why this can
good
have
for
this
Daniel Ek.
Oh, Daniel Ek's the man.
Yeah, he's great.
I love that dude. And I think more companies should follow suit. I don't think it has to be this way. Fortunately for us, they're in Sweden. In Stockholm, Sweden, they have a very different perspective.
You got a syndrome
on all this shit. Yeah. What's wild about the nitrogen is that that's most of the nitrogen from fertilizer we suck out of the air.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Most of the nitrogen for fertilizer we suck out of the air.
Yeah. It's one of the big inventions in chemistry was binding nitrogen. Nitrogen is actually fairly inert, so it's quite hard to actually pull nitrogen out of there and bind it into like ammonia. Like basically the process for creating ammonia was actually a very important
The Haber
thing.
method.
Yeah.
Fritz Haber.
Yeah.
Same guy who invented Zyklon gas.
But it was actually very important to bind nitrogen from the air to fertilizer. So that actually was frankly as a life-saving invention at scale because you just run out of nitrogen.